Please stand for the Chairman of Thanet District Council.
Please be seated, everyone. Here we are. Right, well, thanks everyone for coming, despite the cold snap, and I can assure you it's as cold up here as it probably is down there. That's right. Good evening, members and officers of the Council, members of the press and public. I welcome you to this meeting of the Council. If the fire alarm is activated, please vacate the building via the emergency exits. I would advise that if filming takes place, anyone in attendance in the public areas may have their image captured. I urge anyone filming proceedings to avoid filming members of the public, particularly if there are children present. Does anyone intend to film the meeting? And I don't see anyone. Any filming or recording will not be permitted for any item of business where exempt or confidential information is considered following the exclusion of the press and public from the meeting. Would everyone present please ensure that their mobile phones are turned to silent and they are not used to make or receive phone calls whilst the meeting is in progress? Good. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Apologies have been received from Councillor Curry, Councillor Coleman-Cook, Councillor Whitehead, Councillor Farrance, Councillor Parsons, Councillor Wright, Councillor Rattigan. Are there any other apologies? Have Councillor Rozecki?
Yeah, Chair. Councillor Linda Potts.
Thank you. Any others? I don't see any others. Have we got those? Great. Yep. Agenda item 2, minutes of the previous meetings. I move that the minutes of the Council meeting held on the 24th of February 2022 be approved and signed as a correct record. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Agreed, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. Agenda item 3, announcements. I have 2 announcements. First, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Nixie on her recent election to the Nethercourt ward. Is Councillor Nixie there?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm happy to represent Liv Green over here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also, as a reminder to members, please note that the extraordinary council meeting scheduled for the next Tuesday will start at the slightly earlier than usual time of 6 p.m. So if we all make a note of that, we can all be here. Agenda item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest this evening? And I don't see anyone indicating. Agenda item 6. No, agenda item 5. Excuse me. Petitions. No new petitions have been received in accordance with Council Procedure Rule 12. Agenda item 6, moving on to questions from the press and public. 3 questions have been received from members of the public in accordance with Council Procedure Rule number 13. Please note that only the questioner and respondent are permitted to speak on the question. Could the questioner please only state the name of the Cabinet member to whom their question is to be put and read out the exact wording of the question that they are submitted to the Council. Agenda item therefore 6A, question number 1 from a member of the public regarding the identification of brownfield sites for housing developments. Hoping to be pleased to welcome Miss McCourt to the meeting. Could you please make your way to the microphone, Miss McCourt?
Shall I start? Yep. Okay. We all know that the algorithm for projected housing figures is wrong. But what is TDC doing to press further on the identification of brownfield sites for developments rather than digging up our prime farmland? Why are council officers not being proactive in approaching owners of brownfield sites? And if it is not normal practice then will council officers look towards changing this practice, particularly in light of the fact that we need our farmland for food, growth production and not houses that we do not need?
Thank you very much, Ms McCourt. I call upon the leader to respond.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms McCourt, for your question. The tests for site allocations in government guidance are availability, suitability and achievability, which means that a landowner have to be willing for the sites to be brought forward. They must be suitable in planning terms across a range of matters and be capable of delivery within the plan period. The call for sites is only one part of the process of identifying land for residential and other developments. Another part of the process is to carry out desk and site surveys to identify other sites, including brownfield sites, that meet the site allocation criteria above. In cases where sites meet the criteria above, the landowners are contacted to see what their intentions are for the sites in question. This approach has been standard practice for many years. Such work was carried out for the adopted plan and is being undertaken at the moment to inform the local plan update. And I can assure you that I actually spent Sunday afternoon looking at our brownfield site list, and I will be reviewing it regularly as I do with the planning, so that we can identify if anything is actually going to be suitable for the overall criteria that is needed to be met. So I appreciate your question, and hopefully that is an answer for you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ashby. Agenda item 6B, question number 2 from a member of the public, also regarding the identification of brownfield sites for housing developments. I'm pleased to welcome Miss Brown to the meeting. Could you please make your way to the microphone, Miss Brown?
Good evening. Since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, people are becoming increasingly anxious about the current and future food security because of that region's importance in the global supply of grains such as wheat. Allowing the development of prime productive farmland in Thanet that also grows wheat will decrease our ability to grow food in this country, adding to the reliance on food imports. We already import 40 to 50% of our food. In light of this, and the government's emphasis on using brownfield for development instead of greenfields, can you please tell me, are you required to actively search for brownfield sites? And if you are, what are you doing to fulfil this requirement?
Thank you very much indeed, Miss Brown. I call upon the leader, Councillor Ashby, again. You can elaborate here on this one.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question. As it is obviously very similar to the previous question, I will reiterate again the test for the sites is the availability, suitability and achievability. I do appreciate that obviously the Ukraine and Russia at that point are regarded as the breadbasket of Europe, and I think the situation out there is very alarming. Part of the process of identifying land for residential and other development is to carry out the desktop surveys, as I previously said. And it should be noted there is not currently, and I will stress currently, an absolute protection for agricultural land in the government guidance. The National Planning Policy Framework says where significant land for agricultural land is demonstrated to be necessary, areas of poorer quality should be preferred to those of higher quality. But maybe with the war and maybe the pressure that we can put on the government, then there will be serious reconsideration regarding the use of our agricultural land. So you can rest assured that this council will be asking the government to constantly ask the government to reconsider whether or not they need to adjust their policy, their framework. So that's basically the situation at the moment. But your question is acknowledged and understood. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Ashby. I have a question number 3 from a member of the public regarding the maintenance of public toilets from a Mr. Wainwright, who may not be here. Mr. Wainwright, are you here this evening? Mr. Wainwright does not appear to be here. Mr. Wainwright will get a written answer to his question. So you're off the hook, Councillor Cupp. Agenda item 7, questions from members of the council. Now, this evening I have 7 questions have been received from members of the council. Please note that the time allowed for consideration of questions from members shall not exceed 30 minutes. I ask members to be succinct as possible. Therefore, agenda item 7A, question number 1 from a member regarding the future of Thanet Heritage Theatres. I call upon Councillor Gregory.
Thank you, Chair. Many of Thanet's heritage of theatre venues have, in the past, attracted large audiences and are either closed, now derelict due to lack of routine maintenance, or are imminent to shut, possibly lost to Thanet and its visiting community forever. What plans does TDC have for Westcliff Concert Hall in Ramsgate, the Granville Theatre in Ramsgate, the Theatre Royal Margate and the Winter Gardens Margate, for them to be restored to their former glory?
Thank you, Councillor Gregory. And Councillor Pugh, you're on the hook instead.
I am, Chair, thank you, and I apologise to anyone that's disappointed that it's going to be me. But it is. Thank you, Councillor Gregory, for your question. I have the following to share. The Granville Theatre on Victoria Parade, Ramsgate, was built in the 1940s, originally as a theatre, with a cinema screen added later. The theatre is owned by the council, but it's been managed by leaseholders since 1998. The building was leased to Granville Theatre Limited in 2007, but that arrangement came to an end in November 2020, when the lease was surrendered. The building has been closed since the start of the national COVID-19 lockdown in 2020. The building was last surveyed in 2017, and this highlighted an extensive list of necessary maintenance, with a total cost estimated at £152,000. In addition to this, the roof is in a particularly poor condition, and repairs are estimated to cost around £250,000. In July 2021, members of Thanet District Council's Cabinet agreed to transfer the Granville Theatre into the hands of a community organisation if a viable bid was put forward. In October 2021, we invited community groups to express their interest in bidding for the freehold of the building and the right to continue to operate. Commercial property agents will shortly be offering the building on the open market, inviting proposals that reflect the status, condition and future use of the property. Eligible community groups, including the Kent Film Foundation, will have the opportunity to bid alongside commercial organisations. In relation to the Westcliff Hall in Ramsgate, it is in private ownership and therefore not a matter for TDC that we can comment on, beyond sharing a view that we very much want to see it developed positively. The Theatre Royal forms part of the Margate Town Deal, and within the Town Deal, scaling creative production and skills intervention. There is a £2 million allocation for the Theatre Royal project. The Town Investment Plan states that this will be used to improve the Theatre Royal and the surrounding environment to create a new hub for theatrical production. In relation to the Winter Gardens, there's a Margate Town Deal Board, which has asked central government for revenue funding to support the Margate Winter Gardens in the development of a long-term plan. As a result, there is now £300,000 of revenue funding allocated for the Winter Gardens project. The funding will enable a piece of work which will provide a clear vision and detailed project delivery plan for the Winter Gardens' future, including how it can operate in tandem with the other leisure venues and key heritage assets in Margate, featured within the Town Investment Plan, Dreamland and the Theatre Royal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pugh. Councillor Gregory, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you. I just want to know why these places aren't routinely maintained. They seem to get into a state before anything's done.
Thank you, Councillor Gregory. Back to you, Councillor Pugh, for that. Sorry, yes, back to you, Councillor Pugh, for that.
It's all right, Chair. Thank you. I appreciate I've already spoken too much, but I've got other questions to answer later as well, so everyone has to get used to it. Thank you, Councillor Gregory. I completely understand your concern. Of course, we as a council, it's incredibly important. It's our priority to see many of these wonderful assets restored back to their former glory. But as I'm sure you're aware, as a council, and every £1 of council tax that residents pay, we only receive 12 pence. Services are very tight at the moment, so unfortunately some things do slip. But what I would say is that it's not always, shouldn't always be the priority of the council to maintain these buildings and keep them going if there are community groups that have the passion and flair and the funding available to bring them back to even better than their former glory.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Pugh. Agenda item 6B, question number 2 from a member regarding the allocation of a traveller site. I call upon Councillor Rolfe.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Chair. My question is for a leader. Travellers issue has been ongoing for some time. The working party has been set up for nearly 2 years to allocate a place for them. Can the leader reassure us we will hear the result very soon? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rolfe. I call upon the leader to respond.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Rolfe, for your question. It was decided that suitable sites for gypsy and traveller accommodation should be identified through the local plan process. The site search and allocation process for the local plan update is being undertaken at the moment. The tests for site allocations are availability, suitability and achievability, which means that landowners have to be willing for their sites to be brought forward. They must be suitable in planning terms across a wide range of matters and be capable of delivery within the plan period. No sites, sadly, have been proposed to the Council specifically for consideration as gypsy and traveller sites, which means that the site search work has to be extended.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Ashby. Councillor Rolfe, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I got a supplementary question. Is regarding the families already are in Ramsgate Port. These families, their kids are going to local schools, some of them. They're registered with GPs and also they help in our local community, especially with food bank. And council spending money, taking them to court to move them from there. And by moving them from the port and spending taxpayers' money or keep removing them, we're just moving them from there to somewhere else, and then they have to take them to court again to move them from there. Can we just leave them where they are? And can the leader tell us we would be happy to meet up with interesting party and find a right solution for these people? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rolfe. Councillor Ashby.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Rolfe. The way that I can help the families, the travelling fraternity and the gypsy fraternity, is to actually find a long-term solution for this council to provide suitable sites for them to come and live safely and for their children to attend schools, etc. I can't comment on the port situation because at the moment there are various processes which are being handled by the senior officers of this council, of which I cannot get involved in. But I can confirm, and I want to reiterate that it is my priority in the time that I have remaining to try and find a solution to the problem of us as a council not having a suitable stopping and permanent site for the travellers and the gypsies. So I can confirm, even this is the latest very hot news because we only had the meeting this afternoon, but Councillor Jill Bayford and myself met with senior officers of the council to discuss the recent Department of Levelling Up Housing and Community, I wish they wouldn't have such a long title, the 10 million capital fund to support local authorities in building new transit and permanent traveller sites. I'm very hopeful that a bid will be submitted by the 13th of June 2020 deadline. And if it is successful, which I very much hope that it is, it will be certainly assist us in providing a solution for this matter on a long-term sustainable future. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much indeed, Leader. Councillor Ashby. Agenda item 7C, question number 3 from a member regarding the future of the Pier Yard toilet. A serious issue, but rather amusedly put. I call upon Councillor Everett.
Thank you, Chair. Can Councillor Cupp, as the Cabinet member, flush away rumours that the future of the Pier Yard toilets, which provide the main public conveniences for Ramsgate Main Sands, is in doubt? Is this Conservative administration, which has no Ramsgate councillors on its front bench, considering pulling the chain on them?
There it was. There's the punchline. I call upon Councillor Cupp to respond.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Everett. It's often as if there's a broken record on here, because it's worrying that the leader of the Labour group still cannot seem to realise that the Conservative Cabinet is here to work for the whole of Thanet, not just the wards that we are councillors for. And clearly it has escaped Councillor Everett's attention that his own shadow cabinet doesn't represent the whole of Thanet. But as a cabinet member working for the whole of Thanet, I will of course answer the main crux of his question. A decision on the future of the toilets across the whole district needs to be taken, and we are developing a strategy to deal with the issue that covers a range of options, and any proposal will go to the Cabinet for decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Cupp. I see some cut and thrust developing. Councillor Everett, do you have a supplementary question?
There's a seal over there, sorry.
Well, of course, the Shadow Cabinet isn't making decisions about areas that it doesn't represent. Can Councillor Cupp tell us then, if he was a member of the public who was caught short in Ramsgate in the future, who found that the council had closed the Pier Yard toilets, the council had closed the Cavendish Street toilets, the council had closed the King George VI Park toilets, and the council had closed the Ramsgate Cemetery toilets, what they ought to do?
Thank you, Councillor Everett. Back to you, Councillor Cupp.
Unfortunately, I can't answer to fantasies, so I don't know. Thank you.
Right. Agenda item 7D, question number 4 from a member regarding the future of the Granville Theatre, Ramsgate. I call upon Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Chair. A bit of a theme, I'm afraid, Councillor Pugh. In the light of the confusion and upset over the future of Ramsgate Granville Theatre, I'd be grateful if you could clarify the current situation, the process going forward, and I know you've done some of this. In your helpful responses to residents who've expressed concern, understandably you've stressed our need to ensure best value. Sadly, best value in Ramsgate to date has consistently been interpreted as sale to the highest bidder, leaving important buildings like Westcliff Hall, the Westcliff Undercliff Cafe and 18 Albert Street derelict, generating significant negative ongoing value for our residents and for our visitor economy. We're delighted to see that Granville features as a key attraction in our regeneration team's recently published Ramsgate Future Plan. Could you please outline the process we'll follow for this important asset for now on and explain what we're doing to ensure the Granville elements of the Ramsgate Future Plan can still be delivered? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Austin. Councillor Pugh.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Austin, for your question. As I have covered some of this already, I won't go over it all again, but I'm more than happy to provide you with a full copy of the response, so you've got it for your records. In July 2021, members of Thanet District Council's Cabinet agreed to transfer the Granville Theatre into the hands of a community organisation if a viable bid was put forward. In October 2021, we invited community groups to express their interest in bidding for the freehold of the building and the right to continue to operate it. We received a submission from Kent Film Foundation, which was considered by a panel of officers from across the council. The submission was scored in strict accordance with the community asset transfer policy. As a council, we have a duty to our residents to make sure that any community group that wants to take on a public building can provide the evidence that it has the skills and experience to do so, and that the project has a long-term future that will benefit the wider community. Unfortunately, the KFF submission did not provide adequate designs or costings for the refurbishment of the building and lacked proof of funding and a realistic business plan. That doesn't mean that they can't now bid under the community right to bid, which I believe they are doing so. Commercial property agents will shortly be offering the building on the open market, inviting proposals that reflect the status, condition and future use of the property. Eligible community groups, including the Kent Film Foundation, will have the opportunity to bid alongside commercial organisations.
Thank you, Councillor Pugh. I call upon Councillor Austin. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Austin?
I do. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Pugh. What I'm concerned about, obviously, is what is going to happen with this building in the future, and obviously that's what Ramsgate residents are concerned about. You say proposals that reflect the status, condition and future use of the building. Is Cabinet committed to ensuring that the future use of this building is as an entertainment venue as featured in the Ramsgate Future Plan, rather than it going to developers like so many other buildings have in Ramsgate? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Austin. Back to you, Councillor Pugh.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Austin, for your supplementary. What I would say is that we as a Cabinet, we're committed to ensure that the best possible future for the Granville Theatre as a building continues to, and that's what it has. Whether that be in the hands of a community group or within a private ownership through the auction or whatever following the process remains to be seen. But our priority is to ensure that the best possible use of the building and the best utilisation of the building is what happens.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Pugh. Agenda item 7E, question number 5 from a member regarding disabled parking bays. Now this question is from Councillor Whitehead, who is not here this evening, therefore she will get an answer in writing. Agenda item 7F, question number 6 from a member regarding affordable housing requirements for housing developments. Again, this is from Councillor Farrance, who again is not here this evening. She too will receive a question, the answer in writing. Agenda item 7G, question number 7 from a member regarding the Council's response to public concern about the future of the Granville Theatre, Ramsgate. I call upon Councillor Crittenden. Councillor Crittenden.
Thank you. Yes, you're on the stage again. Has the leader noted the extent of concern in Ramsgate and beyond about the future of
Councillor Crittenden, would you put your microphone on?
Sorry? It is. I'll come down here. Has the leader noted the extent of concern in Ramsgate and beyond about the future of the Granville Theatre? What steps is she taking to address this concern and reassure the public that her administration is listening to what local people obviously want? Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Crittenden. Sorry to interrupt you, it's just I couldn't hear you very well. But Councillor Pugh, I think you heard that. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Crittenden. I apologise, you haven't got the leader, you've got me. But I will try and do my best. We are almost matching, to be fair, so it's almost the same.
You look alike.
The leader... Oh, I love it. The leader and Cabinet have very much listened to the views of local people regarding the Granville Theatre, which is why in July 2021 the Cabinet agreed to transfer the Granville Theatre into the hands of a community organisation if a viable bid was put forward. Of course, I'm not going to now, Councillor Crittenden, go over the same response that I provided, but I'm more than happy to provide you with a full copy of this as well. But everything is within strict accordance with our community asset transfer policy. Of course, again, we have a duty to residents to make sure that any community group that wants to take on the public building can provide the evidence that it has the skills and experience to do so, and that the project has a long-term future that will benefit the community. The Granville Theatre is a location that holds fond memories for many local people, and I recognise that, the Cabinet recognises that, and I understand the strength of feeling and the concern from residents about its future. But it is it's really encouraging to see the amount of positive local support for its redevelopment. We're committed to securing the positive future for the building, whatever that may be, and we hope that it will benefit the local community for generations to come. And I think that's an incredibly important thing to say, not just to Councillor Crittenden, but to all councillors here. You know, there are difficult decisions that need to be made. This council owns a lot of assets, and it's important that we don't just sit on the assets and do nothing. And if a community group or a private individual can do better with assets that the council owns, then I'm all for us making that a reality. As we have done before, whether it has been a success or not, I always think it's something that we should explore.
Thank you, Councillor Pugh. Councillor Crittenden, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, please. Will the leader confirm that she will deliver the Granville to the benefit of the local community? And I hear what you said. In order to reassure the residents that it will not end up as flats or a supermarket, which is their greatest concern, or yet another failed derelict site, which is what comes back to other questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Crittenden. And now you address that to the leader, but I've got a feeling Councillor Pugh might be responding.
Thank you, Chair. You're right. You know, I'm happy to step in for the leader and take the hit. It's fine. Councillor Crittenden, thank you for your supplementary, and I do appreciate that. I think it's important to say that within any transfer of an asset such as the Granville, whether it be to a community group or to a private individual, there's certain things within the sale that we can stipulate. Now, if that means that there's a stipulation that it can't be used for residential development or something like that, I'm more than happy to commit now that we'll do that. I don't think that's necessarily an issue. You know, I think it's a difficult situation, but what I would say is that there are some assets going way back, you know, some iconic buildings in Ramsgate that are now not what they were. I think the former Iceland used to be a big cinema years ago. You know, it's not anymore, but it's now got a use for the community that's completely different. I'd be interested to see a supermarket try and turn the Granville into a Tesco's or a Waitrose, but you know, that remains to be seen. But I do hear what you're saying, and of course we're committed to try and bring the best outcome for the Granville, for the wider community.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Pugh. Agenda item 8, motions on notice. No motions on notice have been received in accordance with Council Procedure Rule 3. So I therefore move on to agenda item 9, the Leader's Report. I therefore call upon the Leader, Councillor Ashby, to present her report.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I would like us all to take a moment to reflect on the situation in Ukraine and the pain and suffering one power-crazed man can cause to so many men, women and children. I think we must all think about this when we're fighting our local battles. There is a big battle going on somewhere that is outside of our control, but we must all remember how things can escalate out of control. It is of enormous concern, and we stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian people. Here in Thanet, we are committed to playing our part in the national effort to welcome and support refugee families. The government has announced that local authorities will be provided with funding to deliver the wraparound support needed by refugees coming into the UK, but at this stage it is unknown when or how many Ukrainians might be arriving in Thanet. In the meantime, we are working with our partners in the Kent Resilience Forum and government to identify how support can be provided to include accommodation, safeguarding checks, translation services, access to health services and education. The final Ramsgate Heritage Action Zone, seafront placemaking, is reaching the end of its 5th and final year. Its focus on Ramsgate seafront from west to east cliffs and along the promenades will explore the past, present and future, recording what Ramsgate seafront means to the local community today and for time to come. The establishment of the Margate Creative Land Trust received the good news from the government that the plan has now been approved. The aim of the trust is to support and grow creative practices, enabling local people to have opportunities to participate in the arts. Trustees are being sought to fill the roles to help provide ongoing strategic direction and critical challenge. Jackie Baker's in Ramsgate saw our first ever community tree planting day. The event was part of the Queen's Green Canopy project and over 40 residents attended to plant a tree, with Cabinet Member Councillor George Cupp, Deputy Lieutenant Clive Stevens, Councillor Pat Moore, and as Deputy Leader of Ramsgate, along with numerous other councillors. Our Open Spaces team also planted 7 larger trees to add to the 35 trees already planted by the community. Earlier in the month, Councillor Bob Bayford, Cabinet Member for Climate Change, attended a visit by Lord Devon and the government's Climate Change Committee to King George V Park in Garlinge. This was part of the national tour to see firsthand what different parts of the country are doing to achieve ambitious climate goals, and we were delighted that Lord Devon chose to visit us here in Thanet. Speaking at a meeting in Maidstone later that day, where I was in attendance, Lord Devon said how impressed he was at how the various parties have come together to make the SUDS project such a success. Various digital technology projects have been launched showing Thanet leading the way forward on resident and business communications. There is the Green Tourism Toolkit, a new toolkit to support local businesses with ideas to help them to become more environmentally friendly and showcase the district as a responsible tourism destination. Then there is the Online Waste Portal, a new digital waste portal for residents to access details of all their waste and recycling services online. It will provide real-time information about bin collections, allow residents to report any issues via the portal without needing to complete a form, bin collection calendars and subscription signs up to the Council's garden green waste services. Finally, the other portal to speak of is the Open Portal, which is a new and secure online portal enabling residents and businesses to see and manage their council tax and business rates accounts, housing benefit claims, payment history, notification letters and much more, all in one place. It will enable viewing of up-to-date account information, checking of your balances, review payments, apply for a single person's discount, update contact details, report a change of address, switch to paperless billing and set up a direct debit. Unfortunately, unlike the energy companies, we can't give a discount for paperless billing. The 4th edition of our Action Against Litter newsletter was published online, giving details of the 7th annual Great British Spring Clean 3-day district-wide Spring Clean event, which takes place during the first week of April. Soon coming up, I believe, next week. TDC councillors and staff will be taking part, along with our district-wide all-year-round volunteer litter-picking army, of which we are most grateful for all their efforts that they do continuously. Included in the news was a reminder of the great work of Plastic-Free Broadstairs, the Palm Bay Primary School and Enterprise Learning Alliance pupils who were awarded certificates for learning for litter-picking activities. TDC has now awarded 60 certificates to pupils across Thanet. Ahead of next year's elections, we are hosting a Become a Councillor event to encourage people living and working in Thanet to find out more about the District Councillor role. It is important that our groups within the council chamber reflect the community it serves, and it is important to encourage people from across Thanet's diverse communities to come forward and to help make a difference to people's lives. Finally, residents in Margate will have received a leaflet through the door about Margate's bid to become a town council. Unlike other Thanet towns, Margate is a charter town, and the trustees have launched a bid for a town council. People registered to vote in the 7 Margate wards are eligible to sign a supporting petition, and should enough signatures be reached, it will trigger a community governance review by the council. Thank you for your time listening.
Thank you very much indeed, Leader. I call upon the Councillor Everett to comment on or ask questions in relation to the Leader's report. Councillor Everett.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank the Leader for her report, and I'm sure that we all share the same concern about what is happening in Ukraine. I know that there are residents in Thanet who are ready and willing to house refugees, and I hope that bureaucracy won't get in the way of their generosity. And I'm also sure that those who do come will contribute to our community, as have those who came before them. I am, of course, in full support of the Become a Councillor initiative, and I'm delighted, as I'm sure the Leader is, that we in the Labour Party were able to help one local resident become a councillor here last week. Welcome, Councillor Nixie. I note that the press release highlights a need for councillors from Thanet's Eastern European and Roma communities, but there are, of course, many groups that are underrepresented in this council, and some that are well represented, including, I'm pleased to say, Charlton Athletic supporters, but that may not be the top priority for residents. Seriously, we need to think how we motivate people from all sections of the community to become councillors, regardless of party or football allegiance. As I said in paying tribute to the late Mary King last month, we needed more councillors from relatively deprived backgrounds to make sure their voice is heard in this chamber. And I don't know, but I wonder how many current members live in social housing, for example. We also need more younger people. I don't think we encourage either with a basic allowance of £4,570. Parents of young children, often working hard to keep their heads above water, usually can't afford the time it takes to do the job of being a councillor properly if it prevents them earning. And of course there are issues of affordability for the council, and of course it is about public service. But it often seems to me that some of us are selective in their interpretation of the role of the market. Perhaps fewer councillors would help us in that respect. Councillor Whitehead isn't able to be here tonight because she's recovering from COVID, but I know she would make the point that April is Autism Acceptance Month and that diversity takes many forms. What we can all do to encourage new people to come forward is to show that being a councillor matters, that what we do makes a difference, and be visible in our wards, not just on social media or even mainstream media, and also be honest about the difficult decisions the council has to make, whoever is in control. Otherwise, we just feed cynicism. I welcome the success of the Margate Creative Land Trust, the Community Tree Planting Initiative at Jackie Baker's, and the forthcoming litter picking events, although I know that this work is already well underway in Ramsgate. Many hands make light work is the claim, but I think those involved might dispute that, because I know it can be very hard work. Either way, it's a real challenge to maintain our streets and open spaces in this respect throughout the year, and we must continue to challenge the culture that says it's okay to leave litter in the first place, especially when most of it isn't biodegradable. Of course, with our visitor economy, it's not just residents who are responsible. As far as the new digital services are concerned, anything which makes waste collection more efficient for residents has my support, but mistakes do inevitably occur, and I think the real test is on the council's ability is whether the council's ability to respond when notified of them actually improves. Obviously, if the service is run on a tight budget, the capacity to recover errors is going to be limited, but being told you've got to wait a week or a fortnight just adds to the initial frustration. Finally, on the subject of Margate Town Council, in some ways it's hardly my business. But I do commend to the good people of Margate the example of Ramsgate Town Council. And I know that the leader was at the Ramsgate Town meeting last night to hear how positively RTC is regarded by those residents present. As the late Peter Campbell would regularly remind us, it is in Ramsgate and Broadstairs and the other parishes' interest for there to be a Margate Town Council, because without it, residents elsewhere will continue to be taxed twice, paying for Margate to receive some services through TDC, as well as for those in their own area through the parish precept. But Margate will also benefit from more autonomy and opportunity to deliver hyper-local initiatives, so I do hope that local people will support it. But of course, if Margate wants a town council as good as Ramsgate's, they'll have to give it a Labour majority too.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Everett. Councillor Ashby, you're not going to dispute too much of that, are you?
No, I thank Councillor Everett for his response. Might struggle a little bit with your last comment unless they change the boundaries, of course, which is always on the cards. Thank you for your comments. Unless I missed it, there wasn't actually a question in there, but I like to think that we are thinking along the same lines, and agree with you that we need to encourage young councillors. Quite proud that I've got, 3 youngsters sitting here to my left.
There's only Kerry.
No. Yeah, when Bob first became a councillor, yes, he was very young. But on a serious note, it is a problem for young people to be a councillor and give it a lot of time, because most of them have full-time work. And we obviously try and adapt our working ways around that. But the allowance is probably an issue. It's a very difficult one to, the Cabinet did contemplate very heavily this time whether or not to put it up, but unfortunately there just wasn't enough left in the budget to do that. But a conversation that we did have and with Dem Services, or I had with Dem Services, was that we felt that we could probably put a little bit away for in the next budget year, and then if we did it the following year, then we could actually then result in raising at least the basic allowance. I don't know whether the chairs need to gain any ground on that, but the trouble is, I think it's been year on year, there haven't been increases for a very, very long time, and even if you just to put it up a little bit every year, at least it doesn't fall that far behind, but it is a problem. So I thank you for your response, and I look forward to the new councillors coming in May 23.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Ashby. We all seem to be friends tonight out here, don't we? I call upon Councillor Reverend Piper to comment on or ask questions in relation to the Leader's report.
And there it is, Chair. The opportunity to ruin the atmosphere. Just a comment about, if I may, about the Ramsgate Town Council on the subject of allowances. Ramsgate Town Council has managed in recent months to actually pay itself twice. The allowances allocated as ward grants and now also as allowances. It is a decision that's being challenged, but it is something that they've managed to come up with under a Labour administration.
Could we have an explanation of how this relates to the Leader's report?
Yes, I'm afraid you're right, Councillor Councillor Everett. Councillor Piper, could you explain that? I don't think it does, but very quickly, if it does, tell us how.
It was the question of allowances, Mr. Chairman. A comment about allowances, a comment about the efficiency of the Ramsgate Town Council.
Councillor Piper, we're not here to talk about Ramsgate Town Council. Unfortunately, though it may be pressing this evening, we are here to talk Thanet Council business.
Yes. So I will make that the end of that sentence. Thank you, Chair. First of all then, thank you, Leader, for your report and your comments about the situation in Ukraine. I wonder if we might have a clear statement regarding such things as gas and electrical safety checks and any other local authority checks that need to be made in order for householders to become sponsors of those travelling from the Ukraine. There is a lot of comment on social media about these things, and most people seem to be finding that they've, using the government scheme and other NGOs, have come up with a sponsorship agreement only then to fail on a requirement of their local authority. So I wonder if it's possible that we could have a clear statement from the council, not this evening necessarily, but a clear communication to all members so we know how to communicate that to the members of the public. It was great fun to be involved in the Jackie Baker's event, although I did spend most of the time coughing. It was a very popular event. It's being well supported around the island. Can I just comment, I have written in about this to the open spaces. Ramsgate Town Council are looking to plant a lot more trees. The avenue that's been started on Jackie Baker's is a good start. Perhaps we could have a meeting, a discussion about the possibility of continuing that avenue all the way round the edge of that field. The online waste portal, I think it will be good in the end. There are the inevitable teething problems, and I'm quite sure they will be dealt with. But for some of our residents in Buxton Road and Highbury Gardens, for example, to go 6 weeks without proper collections and then to have the portal telling them they've been collected when clearly they haven't is a real issue. I wonder if you could get the relevant team to have a look at that, please. The Support a Councillor, Become a Councillor event, we've been doing our best to support that on social media, having invited several people to come. I hope it will be a successful evening, and thanks to the team for putting it on. That concludes my attempt to ruin the atmosphere, Mr. Chairman.
No, you haven't ruined the atmosphere at all, Councillor Piper. I'm sure Councillor Ashby is delighted to respond here.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Piper. Yes, unfortunately I can't comment on the allowances at Ramsgate Town Council. But I did enjoy my visit last night, and I was suitably hosted, even though there wasn't any water. Councillor Orban did promise me a gin and tonic, but there wasn't even a glass of water. The household checks. When the crisis first started, I asked the Chief Executive to set up a dedicated page on our website, which she did organise along with the comms team, and there's lots of information on there. So therefore, as the Chief Executive is here listening, I will ask if the comms can actually add the household check and that procedures where households are taking in refugees, what they need to do regarding the checks. So I'm sure she can confirm that, and it will be added to our dedicated page that is already there. The continuation of the tree planting, I will pass that to our climate emergency cabinet member, who I'm sure will be more than happy to have the conversation with you regarding that. And finally, the early teething problems with the new digital hub. I would imagine that any system, when you're launching it, I understand today all the energy websites crashed because everybody was trying to enter their meter readings for the last day of 31st because they've been told that that's what they need to do. So the whole of the energy websites crashed today. So I'm sure that there's some sympathy with launching, which what is quite a revolutionary technical hub for our waste collection service. But of course, once the teething problems are sorted out, the data will allow us to provide an even better service than we're already providing. So thank you for your comments, and I hope that the answers are to your liking.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Ashby. Did I hear that right, Councillor Orban? The opposition buying drinks for the leader? Perhaps not. Councillor Garner, I turn to you for questions in relation
sorry,
to
can
the
I
leader's
just come
report.
back at you on that?
Yeah, yes, of course, yes, do please.
I didn't have any money on me, Chair, so...
Oh, it's levity tonight, isn't it? I call upon Councillor Garner to comment on or ask questions in relation to the leader's report. Councillor Garner.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you. Yeah, I'm sure all of us share the leader's horror at the events which have unfolded in Ukraine over the last few weeks, and we welcome seeing the Ukrainian flag flying over our offices to demonstrate our solidarity with the Ukrainian people in their fight. It's also been heartening to see the large number of people across Thanet who've rallied to their cause and collected large numbers of items to ship out to Poland to help in the relief effort. We welcome the focus on the community throughout the rest of the report. We are indeed fortunate to have engaged and enthusiastic communities who want to work with the council, and it's important we do all we can to listen to and work with our residents as much as possible. The recent tree planting events across the district have been heartening to see. We'd like to thank all officers who've worked hard to make sure as many trees as possible were planted in a number of different locations. And I'm sure those members of the community who got involved will be keen to watch their trees grow and do their best to make sure no harm comes to them. Of course, while it's important to plant as many trees as possible, it's equally, if not more important, to make sure we do all we can to protect those trees we already have. Too few mature trees are protected, and too many of these are being felled because they're seen to get in the way of anything from new developments to a view of the coastline. Our priorities need to shift. Those of us on the Climate Change Committee, mentioned in the report, and chaired by Councillor Bob Bayford, received a stark update this week from our Climate Change Officer on the latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change on the urgency of climate action and the need for keeping the 1.5 degrees limit alive. This isn't something we can put off, and I know many officers are working hard to make sure our action plan is kept on track. We are pleased to see the good work being done in King George V Park to help reduce the risk of surface flooding. That area leading down from All Saints Avenue and Hartsdown Road has been a flooding hotspot for a number of years, and I know a number of agencies, including KCC and Southern Water, have been working hard to improve the situation. Of course, they're going to need to think extra hard about the additional enhancements that will be needed to alleviate the likely flooding problems which are going to be caused by the addition of a few thousand more houses within a mile or so of that site in Westgate and Garlinge, if approved. It's good to hear about the digital technology projects, as it's important for us to make more information readily available to residents online. We do, of course, have a high percentage of older residents, some of whom are not confident online. So we must not assume everyone will be confident using these, and make sure we're also able to present a friendly, personal face to residents at all times. Of course, whether it be online or in person, it's crucial that we always abide by our commitment to be open and transparent, so people who pay their council tax know what to expect and can be confident they will get a straight answer to a question. We welcome the Be a Councillor event taking place on Thursday, April the 7th, and encourage as many people as possible who want to attend to do so. We need more people who want to actively participate in local democracy to get involved, as that's the best way to effect positive change across our communities. And finally, the Great British Spring Clean. It's another good example of how members of the community have come together to take action to clean up their neighbourhood with the support of council officers at both district and town levels. There are still a number of litter picks planned for the next few weeks, including tomorrow morning, meeting in the station car park on St Peter's Park Road at 10 a.m. Anyone else who wants to join us there to keep our neighbourhood clean would be more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Garner. I'm not sure I identified a question there, but Councillor Ashby, do you wish to respond?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree. A tree is for life. It's the easy part is the planting, and I can assure people that that is the case. We do need to look after these trees and pass them on to the next generation to look after and to understand it. So we have to consider that when we're planning any planting, that we can actually maintain them for a longer period. Pleased to say, I mean, the George V SUDS project was excellent, and also the landscaping that has come as a result of that. It did take KCC quite a long time to get their act together on that because of the COVID lockdown, etc., but it's actually looking quite stunning there on that part now, and it's a vast improvement to what it was even before they dug the big hole there. So it's actually a proof that you can actually come up with a really good solution and then end up with a really nice design and an open space for the community to go and sit in. So pleased to say that I sit on the I think it's called the task force, the Southern Water Task Force. We haven't had an awful lot of meetings, but Thanet have actually, there are plans for 2 more SUD projects within the Thanet area. So it's quite important that when I sit on that to obviously push us forward for any plans that are coming through. So, and I thank you for your other comments, and I wish everybody luck with their litter picking. But it's not just 1 week, is it? It's all 52 weeks of the year. So I certainly, you know, when I go out for a walk most days, I've always got a dustbin bag in my hand, which I pick up, try and restrain the dog from actually taking off with a plastic bottle. So yes, I know, but if we all pick up 5 a day, then we'll get there. So thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much indeed, Leader. Agenda item 10, the annual report of the Chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Now, I call upon Councillor Reverend Piper, who's going to present the report. Councillor Piper, a big moment.
Thank you, Chair. I've tried really hard, you know, I can't get these shorter reports than my learned friend, Councillor Bayford over there, so you'll just have to put up with me rambling, I'm afraid. There are a number of items that are in the report. I'm sure members are all familiar with them. The panel has been very busy. I need to thank the officers who support us and provide us with not just the background information we need, but with the guidance to make sure that we're reviewing things properly. I'd like to thank all the Cabinet members who've come and presented to the panel on some very interesting topics. As I think I've mentioned before already, we had a visit from the police recently, which was quite illuminating, but we're asking them to come back and give us a little bit more specific detail on the subject of modern slavery. There is a danger, I think, members, and I just offer this as a kind of cautionary tale. It's great for us to be engaging with the public. It's great for us to be involving the public in what's going on. But sometimes it would appear that engagement it comes across as somewhat adversarial, as if it's the public and 1 or 2 of us against the council, and it doesn't really do us any good. I wonder if I could encourage members, please, to look at Article 6 of Thanet District Council's Constitution. There are several pages within Article 6 which give you exactly, and I include myself in that, gives us exactly the role of the overview and scrutiny panel, exactly the decisions we can call in and those we can't, those that are something to do with Cabinet and the political running of this council and those that aren't. Please contact me if there's anything that you want us to have a look at, but I would encourage everyone to have a look at Article 6 of the Constitution. It makes it very clear, notably the things we cannot look at, it's not within our purview. it sounds like I'm frightened of hard work. I'm not, but it just saves the public, perhaps. Some members of the public, they get wound up on something before they actually know the facts behind the decision, how it was taken, why it was taken. And I believe it's our job as councillors to try and prevent that kind of thing happening. I commend the report to you, members, and thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Reverend Piper. I think all of that was very well received. Do members have any comments? Councillor Bayford? No, okay. Thank you, members. Agenda item 11, the annual report of the Chair of the Standards Committee. I call upon Mr. Tucker to present the report. Please can you make your way to the microphone, Mr. Tucker?
Good evening, Chair, members and officers of the Council. I'm pleased to present my second annual report, which you've all seen. I've no intention of reading it out. I'm sure you've all read it and you're capable of understanding it. And I'm happy to take any questions. I've got no other observations to make except everything's running smoothly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Do members have any questions? And I don't see anyone indicating. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Tucker. Agenda item 12, the annual report of the Chair of the Governance and Audit Committee. I call upon Councillor Boyd to present the report. Councillor Boyd.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not used to speaking at full council, so bear with me. This report provides an overview of the Governance and Audit Committee's activity during the municipal year 2021/22. I'm pleased to report that the committee continues to discharge its responsibilities to provide independent assurance of the adequacy of the Council's risk management framework and the associated control environment, and provides robust scrutiny and challenge of the authority's financial performance. As outlined in the body of this report, the committee has been actively engaged with both internal and external audit, and I would like to thank all members who have served on the committee during 2021. My thanks goes to the council officers who have supported me in my role as chair and in the work of the committee. To assist the committee in improving their understanding of the council's financial accounts and discharge its responsibility for approving them, a novel subgroup was established with the remit of undertaking a detailed review of the 2021-22 accounts. I would like to thank the members who fully engaged with and participated in the work of the subgroup and the officers for their support. This has been a difficult year with the continuation of the pandemic and restrictions on meeting in person. However, the committee and all committees have overcome the challenges by embracing virtual meetings when necessary and meeting in person in different venues. The Council has also faced challenges this year of receiving the statutory recommendations made by Grant Thornton under Section 24 of the Local Audit and Accountability Act 2014. Work to address those recommendations is ongoing, but I am pleased that the Council has accepted the recommendation and members and officers are cooperating fully with the work of the Independent Monitoring Officer, Mr. Quentin Baker. That's it.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Boyd. Well, I thought you did very well. Do members have any comments? And there are no comments. Thank you. Agenda item 13, recommendations from Standards Committee questions. Yes. Now, I move that the recommendations as set out in the report be adopted. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Oh, I have Councillor Everett.
Thank you, Chair. I hope we can vote on these two proposals separately. I have no problem with the change to Procedure Rule 14.6. I do have a problem with the proposal for 14.8, not least because it seems to me the rule would then contain a contradiction. I have to say that I'm a bit suspicious of any attempt to further limit the opportunity of members to challenge the executive. I think we should expect our cabinet members to have a reasonable grasp of their portfolios and to be able to respond to high-level supplementary questions. Regardless of that, they have all the power. It's the questioners who get challenged by the chair. It's not the cabinet member making the answer. Members are not allowed to answer back, so I don't think that the balance of power needs tipping any further in favour of the executive. And I have sat on both sides, so I do appreciate the situation from both sides. If questions are too technical or detailed, Council will not expect an immediate response, and if they're out of order, it's already the role of the Chair to intervene. But in this case, the proposal doesn't even make sense. The original amendment to the rule on supplementary questions that went to Constitutional Review Working Group was to add, the Chairman will be robust in refusing to allow questions which do not arise directly out of the original question or reply. The Chairman's view on the issue will be final. Now, I don't see a problem with that, except for the lapse into gendered language, which we previously said we wouldn't do. However, based on what was agreed at Constitutional Review Working Party and Standards, it would now read, the supplemental question must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. The question must be a question and not a statement and arise directly out of the response. So the rule would say, firstly, that it can arise solely from the original question, and then subsequently that it must arise out of the response. Frankly, Chair, this is nonsense. I'm therefore moving an amendment, and the amendment is to delete the last 7 words of the proposal and end the addition to the rule at the word statement. It's entirely appropriate that a supplementary question follows on from the original question. Otherwise, the Cabinet member could close down an issue by giving a completely irrelevant response, and that cannot be right. On both grounds, I ask the Council to support the amendment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Everett. Well, we have an amendment tabled here. Are there any other speakers at this point? Yeah. Have I got a seconder for that, Councillor Everett? I have Councillor Rourke. Does anyone wish to take that up? Councillor Piper.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to say that I agree with most of what Councillor Everett has said when I raised my hand earlier to speak on this matter. Personally, I thought the supplementary question would be better if it related directly to the answer provided by the Cabinet member to whom the question was asked, rather than relating to the original question. It's kind of, we might just well change it and give people the opportunity to ask 2 questions, because that's often what happens. We've all seen it. If it relates to the answer, and to go some way to perhaps offering some comfort to Councillor Everett, if any Cabinet member or the leader decided to give a reply that was completely nonsensical and didn't answer the original question, then the supplementary question simply calls for a proper answer. So it's not necessarily that difficult, and I don't think it's about power shifting, but I have to say I agree with most of what he said. I think it would be clearer if it was a supplementary question in response to the answer.
Thank you very much, Councillor Piper. Would anyone else like to speak to Councillor Everett? Councillor Bayford.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think a lot of this is kind of plain semantics, and what it seems to me is that Council needs to adopt the spirit of what's meant by this, rather than worry too much about the words. Because if we all stuck to the spirit of it, there'd be no problem.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bayford. Do I have any other speakers? We have an amendment. Councillor Everett, could you remind us of the wording of your amendment?
Yes, Chair. So at the moment, the proposal is that the question must be a question and not a statement, comma, and arise directly out of the response. And the amendment is to delete and arise directly out of the response. So we would simply add the question must be a question and not a statement.
Not, yes. Thank you, Councillor Everett. We'll have a vote now on that, since there are no other speakers on it. Those in favour? And those against? Five against. And abstentions? Two, yeah. And that is passed. The amendment is passed. So we'll go back to the main agenda item. Can we therefore have a member's agreement on the 2 procedural changes and with the amendment? I think I'm doing this right, aren't I?
You are, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So there are those in favour. And those against? And any abstentions? And I think we've got and 5 abstentions. And that is passed. Thank you very much indeed, members. Moving on to agenda item 14, recommendations from the Standing Committee, revision to delegations. I move that the recommendation set out in the report be adopted. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Agreed, Chair.
Do members agree? Agreed. Agenda item 15. Oh, back to Ramsgate. The Ramsgate Conservation Area Appraisal. I call upon the leader, Councillor Ashby.
Thank you, Chair. I'm asking members and I'm seeking their approval for the adoption of the Ramsgate Conservation Area Character Appraisal and Management Plan document containing locally specific information of the area following the public consultation in November to December 2021. I would also like to add that I think this is an incredibly fine document and it would be a very good reference point for anybody either visiting Ramsgate or for all of us across the district of Thanet. Thank you, Chair. So I seek your approval.
Thank you very much, Leader. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Bayford. Do members agree? Thank you very much indeed. Agenda item 16, changes committees, panels and boards. Would members please refer to the supplementary agenda number 1? Would members please note the existing political balance on committees will remain unchanged. Thank you. Nomination of members to serve on committees. Group leaders, do you have any amendments you would like to advise of? Councillor Ashby.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like to add Councillor Shrub to planning as we were run short on that, I believe. So Councillor Shrub to add to planning and add Councillor Lees to overview and scrutiny. On governance and audit, I will be taking off Councillor Pugh and adding Councillor Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ashby. Councillor Everett.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I believe we have a vacancy on licensing which Councillor Curry has volunteered to fill. Thank you.
Councillor Piper.
No changes, Chair.
Councillor Garner.
No, none here either.
Thank you very much indeed, members. Well, that concludes the business this evening. Thank you all very much indeed for braving the weather. It's been quite blowy up here. Well, I can hear it outside. Good night, everyone.